Do you think that any of RFK's strong showing in this poll can be explained by his stance on the Ukraine war? I know you guys, your team has done some polling on that. I think the latest was in August. He's been really against that war for a long time. I actually had him on this podcast back in May, and he was rather prescient in his overall assessment of the counteroffensive and how that would play out.
Is not in our interest. It's not in the interest of Ukraine. Their economy is in ruins. Their infrastructure is in ruins, and they're probably never going to have a coherent country now.
If you were to become president, how would you disentangle the U.S. from this war? Like, how could it be done?
I will settle the war. I will have a ceasefire my first day in office.
How are you going to do that, though? Like, are you going to tell Ukraine we're cutting off?
Ukraine, we need a ceasefire, and I don't think there'll be any argument. Ukraine is going to China asking them to settle the war.
I know, I saw that.
Yeah, okay, well, that's because they don't, they know what we're up to. We want the war, and he doesn't have any options now. They have lost the war. Russia has won, and then the spring offensive comes. It's going to be a nightmare. So, all of what they said was going to be the offensive. It's stalled. This is a catastrophe, and it is the direct fault of the neocons in the White House, who seem to be running the White House, rather than the president.
Do you think that's fueling that in any way?
I don't have any evidence that would point that one way or another. I'll take a look at that. I'll sort of cross-tab that question by RFK support. So I really can't answer that one intelligently. I think that my perception is that voters are relatively unfamiliar with him. They have a glancing familiarity with him. And he's young, certainly young when you compare
younger,
him.
Yeah.
Younger. He looks young compared to the other two.
Yes.
And he is anti-establishment to a certain extent. They get that. They get that maybe they agree with him on one thing. They don't agree with him on something else. He's just not within the orthodoxy, and they like that. Whether it's on one issue, whether it's vaccines, Ukraine, or, it was interesting to note, my first query was, is it older folks like me who, are in love with the Kennedy mystique, who remember, his father?
Sure.
And as it turns out, his support amongst voters 65 and older, that was his weakest area. So it doesn't speak to the Kennedy mystique.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's that 18 to 29 demo that's at 34% for him right now. And then I guess that also brings up the question of how reliable are those voters. You guys have the score on how reliable.
They're not the most reliable voter.
Right.
They're not.
Right.
But in these swing states that get decided by a couple of points, they will make a difference.